welcome back to Offbeat Gyan. Offbeat Gyan comes back with the story of the great novel Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair is a classic. It is one of the greatest novels in English literature and it has been written by William Makepeace Thackeray. Thackeray was born in 1811 in Calcutta. When he was 5 years old, his father died and his mother remarried soon after. So he was sent back to England to stay with an aunt, and he completed his education, schooling, and college education in England. He had a tough time establishing his reputation as a novelist. He wanted to be a painter, but then he realized that he would not get much success as a painter. So he used to write sketches and satirical prose pieces and light verse for various periodicals. But his fame was actually established with the publication of Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair came out in the period 1847 to 1848, and this established his reputation as one of the greats. He belongs to the Victorian period, the 19th century. So, as I mentioned earlier, Vanity Fair was published in 1847 to 1848 or 19th century Victorian England. Publication was in Victorian England, but the novel is set in the Regency period. The Regency period is the period from 1795 to 1837, and this was the period when George III's son, Prince George, ruled over England as the regent, as the king had fallen sick. So that is why it is known as the Regency period. And the physical setting of the novel is in England, Belgium, Brussels, Germany, and most of Western Europe, actually. It does refer to the East India Company in India. It makes reference to Napoleon also. The genre of the novel. It has been variously identified as a domestic novel, a historical novel, and also social satire. So, why is it called a domestic novel? It deals with the lives of two women, Amelia Sedley and Becky Sharp. And in the process, it also talks about the lives of many other people belonging to English upper class society, the inner workings of a household, how the family functions. So that is why it is a domestic novel. Then it is a historical novel because it refers to actual historical events. It refers to the Napoleonic wars between England and France and the colonial outreach of England, the English Empire, the East India Company. So, because it refers to a historical period and it also talks about actual historical figures with whom the characters in the novel interact or participate at a distance. That is why it is called a historical novel. It is a piece of social satire, actually biting social satire, because it ridicules the hypocrisy, the falsehood, the showy behavior of upper class English society. Thackeray depicts greed, lust, selfishness, and the meanness of human beings towards each other. The novel reveals the sordid reality under all the glitter and the glamour. Thackeray used cynicism, sarcasm, and satire to convey his perception or understanding of 19th century English upper class society. He ridicules snobbery and the vices of people. Borrowed the title from John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, and the novel also has a subtitle, Novel Without a Hero. By a stretch of imagination, Becky Sharp can be considered to be the heroine of the novel. The story of the novel. There are two girls, Amelia Sedley and Becky Sharp. Both of them study at Miss Pinkerton's academy. They complete their education, and Becky Sharp who is an orphan, is invited by the kind and gentle Amelia Sedley to spend some time with her at her home in London. Becky is an orphan. Her father was a poor artist and her mother was a French opera dancer. Both had died, and so there was no one to guide or advise Becky. Amelia Sedley, on the other hand, was the daughter of a rich businessman who lived in Russell Square in London. Becky is mean, very selfish, ambitious, and ruthless. Amelia is gentle, kind, sincere, devoted. She is one of the good persons. When they finish their studies and Amelia invites Becky to spend some time at her home, Becky takes up the invitation with alacrity because she has always wanted to move in the rich and influential circles. And Becky is soon to take up the position of governess at Queen's Crawley. Queen's Crawley is the country house of a rich lord, Sir Pitt Crawley. So most of the English upper class, they used to have multiple residences. They were so rich that they had houses on the beach, they had houses on the mountains, they had country houses, they had houses in the London city itself. So Becky was supposed to take up the position of governess at Queen's Crawley, the country house of Sir Pitt Crawley. Becky soon tries to attract the attention of Amelia's brother, Jos Sedley. Jos works for the East India Company and he is based in India. He is a fat, arrogant, wealthy man and he is not attracted to Becky. He actually refuses Becky's charms. So Becky soon takes up her position as the governess in the Crawley household and she starts playing her games. She charms the mean and ruthless Sir Pitt. As I told you earlier, she is a very ambitious character and she wants to belong to the rich and influential upper class English society. This is the driving force of her life. She also manages to get the attention of Sir Pitt's sister, the wealthy Miss Crawley. Pitt Crawley's wife, Lady Crawley, dies, and soon he proposes to Becky. Becky informs him that she has secretly married his second son, Rawdon Crawley. Rawdon Crawley is in the British Army. He is a wastrel and he gambles, drinks, and he loves dueling. The news of the secret marriage between her nephew and Becky enrages Miss Crawley. She is very angry. She is Rawdon's aunt and she cuts him off from her will. So, Rawdon Crawley loses his future prospects after his marriage with Becky Sharp. Amelia's father, Mr. Sedley, also loses all his wealth during the Napoleonic Wars. He loses his money in speculation and he actually does not reveal his economic position to his family. Anyway, we find that he has lost all his wealth and he is reduced to impoverishment. Amelia is betrothed to George Osborne, who is in the British Army and the son of a very rich man. Amelia deeply loves George Osborne. But George Osborne's father is a selfish and snobbish man, and when he comes to know that Mr. Sedley has lost all his fortune, he does not want his son to marry Amelia. But Captain Dobbin, George's school friend and his friend in the British Army, tells him that Amelia sincerely loves him, cares about him, and so he must do his duty by Amelia. George listens to him and he decides to marry Amelia. He respects Amelia's tender and sincere love for him. Dobbin is a good, patient gentleman who has always loved Amelia from afar. He has never confessed his love to her. He has never revealed the depth of his true feelings to her. But he understands her feelings for George. So George marries Amelia, and immediately he is disinherited by his father and he leaves the house. George and Amelia get married and they go to Brighton for their honeymoon. They learn that Napoleon has returned to fight against the British and that the British army has been ordered to go to Belgium. So George Osborne and William Dobbin they leave for Belgium. Soon everyone leaves for Brussels and Becky also arrives there. Becky uses all her charm and her tactics and becomes the star attraction. She flirts with the men, blatantly flirts with the men. George is madly infatuated with her and he completely ignores his poor wife, Amelia. George dies in the Battle of Waterloo and Amelia is heartbroken. She is taken back to London by the devoted and faithful Dobbin. She settles down with her little son in a small villa arranged for her by Dobbin. She does not notice Dobbin's love for her because she still loves George and she thinks only of her son and her lost love, George. Becky also has a son by now. She and Rawdon live in Paris. She is an indifferent mother. She doesn't care much about her son. Becky and Rawdon lead a life filled with parties, fashion, and luxury, despite having very less money. Soon they return to England, looking for some way to enhance Rawdon's income and future prospects. Becky continues with her flirting and charming and gets close to Rawdon's brother, elder brother, who has now become the owner of Queen's Crawley and has also inherited Miss Crawley's wealth. She also manages to become close to his wife, Lady Jane, and this helps her move in influential circles in the company of rich and powerful people. Becky is determined to become rich and powerful. She manages to capture the attention of the powerful and ruthless Lord Steyne. One evening, Rawdon comes home to find Becky and Lord Steyne in a compromising position. He is very hurt and angry and he hits Stein. He rips off Becky's jewels and throws them on the ground. He is convinced that Becky has been accepting money and jewelry from others. Angry and outraged, he leaves the house. He deeply loves his son and he cares about the child. The next day, Rawdon learns from the newspaper that he has been appointed governor of one of the provinces in the tropics. Becky had made this possible through her relationship with Lord Steyne. Rawdon leaves London to take up his new position. For him, it is more or less like an exile because he is far removed from the hustle and bustle of London, the glitter and glamour of London, and he has to go to this remote province somewhere in the tropics. Meanwhile, Amelia lives with her poor parents, and her only solace is her son. She is also forced to part with him in between and send him to live with her rich father in law, Mr. Osborne, when their circumstances become really bad. Then one day, Dobbin, who has become a major in the army, returns. He has come back after 10 years and he meets Amelia and once again he persuades her to marry him. Amelia refuses his proposal, saying that she still cares for George. George Sedley returns to London from India, where he was a collector in the East India Company. He finds Amelia in dire straits and takes her to Europe for a holiday. George, Amelia, George Jr., and Dobbin leave for Europe. They meet Becky in Pumpernickel in Germany. She is no longer the charming and vivacious woman she used to be in the past. She is sad and lonely, but still retains her old charm. Becky realizes and appreciates the sincerity and power of Dobbin's love for Amelia. In an uncharacteristic gesture, she shows a letter to Amelia. The letter had been written by George Osborne to Becky on the eve of the Battle of Waterloo. In the letter, in the letter, George had asked her to run away with him. At last, Amelia realizes that George was not a man who deserved her devotion or loyalty, and she finally marries the devoted Dobbin. Becky marries Jos Sedley and they live in Europe. Soon, Jos Sedley dies an early death, but before his death, he does take out life insurance that ensures lifelong allowance for Becky and also a portion of the money for his sister Amelia. Becky returns to England. Her son, who has inherited Crawley, refuses to meet her. She lives in Bath, in England, and devotes herself to good works. So, thank you. This is a simple summary of the great novel Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. Hope it helps you to understand the novel. Thank you once again.